Well, he was really upset with me because it's a high demand, right? And so for me, being the visual person that I am, I was going into the future, playing out these scenarios inside of my head, not realizing that it's not being communicated to him what's going on in my head. And what was going on in my head was I had met some billionaire people who I felt were not worthy of the spot. Okay. They didn't help people. They disappointed me. I really looked up to them for some mentorship, and it was a very big letdown for me. And I looked at Grant. I'm his number one fan. I believe in his products, his services, his mission, his ability to help families be able to take financial um, control of their lives and to leave a legacy, right? So I looked at it and I said, why is Grant not a billionaire? Because if he was a billionaire, he would be doing more good with this status. Why isn't he walking amongst the quote unquote giants of the world? Grant actually has the intentions in the heart to really be able to help. And don't be offended when I say this, because a lot of people will take what I'm about to say out of context, but please don't, and take it for how I mean it, because this was the thoughts going on in my head, because I believed Grant could help the little people. And I've always thought of myself as one of the little people. I grew up in New Orleans, Louisiana,
Mhm.
from modest beginnings. We did not have silver spoons in our mouths. We didn't grow up poor either. I always had a roof and a nice house, but we lived paycheck to paycheck, and it was a constant fear and anxiety around money in my household. So I never went to college. Like I said, I always kind of have battled with my intelligence issues, and so I consider myself like somebody being a billionaire is just, it's even to this day uncomfortable and awkward coming out of my mouth, because somebody like me isn't supposed to be here. Like, that's just not the level of where we're supposed to be. And so anyway, so this is going on in my head, and I'm thinking, this is where I want him to be, because I believe in him enough to be living to his full potential. And I believe that was what his full potential should be. And to be anything less than who he is and is capable of being, I felt was a transgression or a sin against not only himself, but all of the millions and millions of people that could have been helped or benefited by his products, right? And then I will admit, so there was that aspect of why he needs to be a billionaire. Also, if he's teaching financial literacy and legacy and all of that, wouldn't he have to be a billionaire? Like, everyone's a millionaire nowadays, right? And so, in order to break through the noise, and to really get attention, who wouldn't listen to a billionaire? So there was many factors as to why we had to break the glass ceiling for ourselves, because we are the little people. He's from Lake Charles, Louisiana. He lost his dad at 10, his brother at 15. They came from moderate beginnings. Grant had a very bad, severe drug addiction. He was almost beaten to death. He's got like 100 stitches in his head. So we come from the everyday person. And so, in order to make this real for others to follow in the footsteps and to be able to have credibility, I said, we have to become billionaires. No one else is going to listen. You're just going to be the everyday social media person, millionaire person. And then, so that was another reason he had to become a billionaire. And then the last and final reason, and I will be authentic and transparent and admit to you that my agenda and my greedy agenda was not that I need money to be somebody. It had nothing to do with that, contrary to what others might think, because I am very secure with who I am, and I don't need a name brand, even though I like them, to be me. So there's that. Where I will admit greed is, I thought, if I get Grant focused on billionaire status and who he has to become and what he has to accomplish in order to make that dream a reality, would require so much attention that attention would be focused on that and not on me. Because as a wife of a powerful guy who has that much ferocity and energy toward life and power and potential, if it is not channeled in the right avenue, going toward the greater good of the world, and he sits on that, that energy turns negative and comes at me. And it is a lot for me to deal with. So I just took his attention from me being the enemy or the challenge or his big game of life, you know, because that's where we were when we started out. We were bicker. I've got power over you. You've got power over me. Fight, build all day, tear each other down at night. That was the big game. It wasn't until I said, you need to become a billionaire, because it blurted out of the thoughts that went in my head. Yeah. It wasn't until I got his attention focused on the billionaire that aggression stopped coming at me, and we actually fortified and got on the same page. So I blurted it out, you need to become a billionaire, at which point he hadn't heard all the back thoughts in my head, and he responded with, when's enough for you? And I give you this and that, and you're not the one that has to go and hammer and claw. I'm the one that's the doer. You get to have all your little fantasies, all your little thoughts in your head, and then you expect me to do that? A billionaire. That I'm already, like, it was, I think he was around 53 years old at the time. He's 65 now. I can't even accomplish that. That's ridiculous. When he gets really upset, he'll start using the word ridiculous. That word, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Do you know what you're asking of me? I mean, furious. I mean, hit the lid, right? So once I was able to sort of backtrack and explain, hey, look, I don't need, look, I'm not even wearing my ring, my jewelry. Like, I'm not that girl. And he knows that. I said, look, I'm your girl from New Orleans. I like MMA. I like shooting guns. You know that about me. That's when I'm happiest, is when I'm on the range with the gun guys. Or I used to rebuild hot rods when I was in my 20s. Like, I don't need anything to be me. I got my integrity. I got my loyalty. I've got my willingness to learn. I've got things that no money can give me or take away from me. So that's first and foremost. Everything else is like a trophy and a Super Bowl ring, like a plane or a house or a nice car or a Chanel or this or that. Those are all trophies and indicators that we have done enough right things and avoided enough wrong things to be able to be successful. That's all that is for me. And then I explained the thoughts in my head, at which point he got on board. And of course, we hit that target about 2 years ago, and now we're going to 10 because, you know, now, you know, we want to make a greater global impact, and honestly, is insane as this sounds, like, to people, you know, like myself. Mm-hmm. The billionaire is still, quote unquote, the little people to the real, that are to the 12 families that are controlling this planet. So, you know, the next target's 10, and then we'll see where we go beyond that. How big and how far can two, you know, people like Grant and Elena Cardone from Louisiana, how far can we make it? And not only that, but how far and how many people can we help to go along the path with us? Because I think these little people need to be at the top.